Welcome back to the Filipino FM channel, your home for Filipino Football Manager content. Today, we've put the perfect manager in the Philippines, and we're going to see how his career ends up. All right, here is our perfect manager. We have given him 20 for all of his managerial attributes, including coaching, goalkeeper coaching, mental, and knowledge attributes. So, in theory, this is the perfect manager. Looking at his hidden attributes, his current ability is 200 out of 200. So he is the perfect manager. Current ability for staff, just like for players, goes from 1 to 200. Jurgen Klopp's, I think, is around 196, 197. Same with Pep Guardiola's. So in theory, the perfect manager is better than both of these managers. He is the greatest manager of all time. I've also given him a essentially perfect personality. He is a model professional in the game. He also prefers a 4-3-3 DM wide formation. I figured this is just the most common formation, so wherever he ends up in the save, he should be able to use it. To give our perfect manager the best possible chance for success, I have put him on United City FC in the Philippines Football League. So he is the manager for United City. And looking at the Philippines Football League season preview, interestingly, he's actually predicted to finish third. I wasn't expecting that. Um, I thought they would actually be predicted to finish first. However, we'll see how the perfect manager is able to do with United City. Historically, United City is the best team in the Philippines Football League. Looking at the past winners, they've actually won every single Philippines Football League title. So we're going to see in our season preview if the perfect manager can continue that trend and continue winning the Philippines Football League title. Along with that, we will follow the perfect manager's managerial statistics. We'll look to see how many trophies he's wins, his win percentage, and kind of the overall club stats. And we'll follow him along for his entire career to see if he ends up anywhere else other than United City. Being the perfect manager, I hope that he ends up going to England or Europe, and maybe take on a bigger club. I want to see him take on these big clubs and see if he can win maybe some Champions League titles, or even better yet, if he takes on the Philippines and possibly helps to lead them to a Southeast Asian Games title, maybe further along in the Asian Cup and some good World Cup qualifying. So we're going to start off by continuing 5 years into the future, and we'll catch up with the perfect manager then. Welcome back. We are catching up with the perfect manager in 2027, 5 years into the future. And from the looks of it, he has done an amazing job at United City. Looking through his milestones, if we go back to 2023, he, in his first season, won the Philippines Football League and won the Philippines Football League Cup, which is kind of like the FA Cup in the Philippines. He was also named the Manager of the Year. He repeated this achievement in 2024, 2025, which was their fourth consecutive Football League title under his management. Wow. And then winning it again in 2027. So, looking at the Philippines Football League, looking at the past winners' history, other than one season in 2025 2026, the perfect manager has led United City to absolutely dominate the Philippines Football League. Our perfect manager, perhaps surprisingly, has only won two Manager of the Year awards. I was expecting a few more considering he has led United City to four Philippines Football League titles, but two Manager of the Year's award isn't too bad, but it's the four trophies that we really are more interested in. And looking at some of these stats, he really has done a very good job. So he's won three League Cup titles with the Philippines, an overall 73% win percentage. That is astounding, with a huge goal difference, a plus 214 goal difference in 5 years, only 21 losses and 157 matches played. I would imagine a number of those are probably in the Asian Champions League. And looking at some of those continental competitions, it doesn't look like United City has made a whole lot of progress there, losing in most of their early Champions League matches. Unsurprisingly, they don't tend to do well in continental competition. They were able to make a Conference Cup semifinal, actually losing to Stallion, who are from the Philippines. That is a little disappointing. The Asian Zone Conference Cup, this is kind of like the Europa League in Asia. So they did make a run, but maybe they haven't been as successful in continental competition as we were hoping to see, but they have been dominant in domestic Philippines Football League competition. And lastly, I did just want to look at how they were doing in the Philippines Football League as far as the standings are concerned, and they have been dominant. In season one, 67 points, only losing one game. Season two, winning on goal differential. Season three, winning by a couple points there. Season four, losing out to Kaya by just one match. And finally, season five, reclaiming the Philippines Football League title. So this is where we're at currently after 5 years. Let's jump another 10 years into the future to 2037 and catch up with the perfect manager then. Welcome back. We are 10 years into the future, 15 years total for the save in 2037, and the perfect manager is still at United City. I'm surprised he hasn't moved. I was honestly expecting him at this point to take a bigger job. I wonder if his low reputation may be preventing him from moving to a bigger club. But overall, it seems like he's been successful with United City if he's still here. Let's look at some of those milestones. Wow. All right. In 2037, he guided them to a seventh consecutive title. Let's look in the Philippines Football League Cup, winning that as well. So let's look at the Philippines Football League Cup first. Again, this is like the FA Cup. And United City has been absolutely dominant besides a 4 year period between 2025 and 2029. United City has essentially dominated the Philippines Football League Cup. Looking at the league itself, and United City has been crazy dominant in the Philippines Football League. They've only lost the one Kaya that we saw earlier, and interestingly, the Azcal's development team in 2029. But otherwise, in this save, out of the 15 years we've simulated, they've won 13 Philippines Football League titles. That is actually insane. The perfect manager is clearly doing the almost perfect job with United City. Looking at United City overall, it's just been the Philippines Football League and the Philippines Football League Cup titles that they've been winning. They haven't won anything as far as continental competition is concerned. So the perfect manager not making huge inroads as far as continental competition, but domestically, they've been the dominant side in the Philippines. And looking at the perfect manager, he has a contract that actually expires next year, but I think this is pretty common in the Philippines to have a 1 year contract. So I wouldn't expect him to be leaving United City anytime soon. At this point, he's been there for 15 seasons. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays there for the rest of his career, to be honest. I'm a little disappointed he hasn't gone to Europe yet, but given that he is kind of one of the best managers of all time in the Philippines, I guess United City is going to be doing anything they can to keep him. Looking at the perfect manager's overall statistics, the win percentage has dropped a little bit. I think it was 73% when we last saw him. It is 69% now. That being said, that's still a really high win percentage. He has a crazy goal differential. He's only lost 72 games out of 509, 13 league wins, 8 cup titles. The perfect manager has been absolutely fantastic. So at this point, I think with the perfect manager, we might as well just simulate to the end of his career, or at least until something interesting happens. So keep the save running until I guess something interesting happens. And if he just stays with the United City, we will look at him again at the end of his career. See you then. And we have had something very interesting happen. Our perfect manager has finally moved to Europe in year 2046, 9 years after we last saw you all. And this was after guiding United City to a 16th consecutive Football League title under his management, also winning the Philippines Football League Cup, and finally departing for Norwich. And currently, looking at Norwich, they are in the English Premier Division. Our perfect manager now managing in England, finally. So we are in 2046, but let's take a overview of how he has done with United City. So our perfect manager won the Philippines Football League Manager of the Year award an astounding 18 times, won 22 Philippines Football League titles, as well as a huge number of Philippines Football League Cups. I won't count that at the moment, but looking at them, so past winners for the Philippines Football League Cup, I mean, they've just been absolutely dominant, winning the last one, two, three, four, five, six, seven Philippines Football League Cup titles. Looking at the Philippines Football League, they've won all but two of them again, just consistently winning Philippines football leagues. They've been the absolute dominant force domestically. Has just been phenomenal from our perfect manager. And looking at the Manager of the Year awards, his dominance has been reflected, winning pretty much all of them between 2031-32 to 2044-2045, only losing out in this past year to Seb Gonzalez of Cebu Football Club. And clearly, it was those performances with United City that have finally given our perfect manager the chance to go into the English Premier Division with Norwich. Surprisingly, he still only has a Continental B license. I'm sure that will move to a Continental Pro license. But at 54 years old, 24 years into our save, the perfect manager is finally getting the opportunity to test himself against higher opposition. Looking at Norwich City, they were actually promoted last season into the English Premier Division. So they will be playing in the English Premier Division for the first time in a little bit. And looking at the season preview, Norwich is actually expected to finish last, so it's going to be a monumental job for our perfect manager to try to keep Norwich in the English Premier Division. Let's go 1 year into the future, and we're going to find out how he did. All right, you all, I have terrible news. The perfect manager is currently unemployed. Let's look at him. Still the perfect manager, and unfortunately, he was sacked from Norwich. We had the perfect manager and he was sacked. How did this happen? All right, let's look and see. Oh, and Norwich is playing in the Sky Bet Championship next season. That does not bode well. It looks like he was relegated. Looking at last season's English Premier Division, Norwich actually had a pretty torrid time. They finished on 22 points. To be fair, the perfect manager did move them one place up from the season preview. They were predicted to finish 20th. They finished 19th. That is better than they were expected, but he didn't come anywhere close to keeping them in the English competition. And looking at last season's schedule for Norwich, they were pretty awful. They had 3 losses in a row to start the season. They did pick up a couple of wins and draws in their next few games, but after that, it's pretty much losses throughout the season. Not winning a game in January, February, March, April, and only winning again in May on the last match of the season. The second half of the season definitely being Norwich City's downfall. Unfortunately, our perfect manager was sacked with Norwich. I'm going to continue a few more years to see if he finds another job, and we'll catch up with you then. All right, you all. I actually simulated into the future, and this was the last season we had our perfect manager. After this, our perfect manager ended up retiring. So I've gone back to right after he was sacked by Norwich, just so we can look at his overview. But a few seasons into the future, nothing happened with the perfect manager. Despite being the perfect manager, he didn't get another job after being sacked by Norwich, and eventually he retired. So with that, let's look at his overview to look at his career as a whole. Overall, he won most of his things at United City. He had an overall 70% win percentage, which was really good, winning 22 league titles and 16 cups with United City. But he wasn't able to do anything with Norwich. He wasn't able to keep them up after bringing them into the English Premier Division. He doesn't have any relegations on his resume. I wonder if he was sacked before the end of the season at Norwich for being unable to keep them up. But unfortunately, we didn't see the perfect manager do anything else after leaving Norwich. Overall, I do think it was a successful career for our perfect manager. He was probably the best Filipino manager of all time, with those 22 league titles with United City and establishing his dominance there. But unfortunately, once he went to England with Norwich, he wasn't able to keep them in the English top flight and eventually retiring after leaving. So that's all I have for y'all with this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll be back with more Football Manager content soon. Bye.